Welcome to Licensing Subcommittee. If I can just go through the protocol for remote hearings, please. Only speak when invited to by the chair. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand and direct all communication via the chair. Please ensure that your mics are muted when you're not speaking. When speaking, please be succinct and do not exceed the allocated time frames. If we're referring to any written submissions, please refer to the specific page number in the agenda pack. Any new evidence can only be submitted at the discretion of the chair and the agreement of all parties. If you're having technical difficulties, please use the chat function to alert the meeting. Please do not use the chat function for putting formal questions to the subcommittee. Any persistent disruptive behaviour will result in removal from the meeting. Once the application has been considered, any remaining parties will be asked to log out of the hearing. Please do so promptly so that councillors will have the opportunity to deliberate and make a decision. Each party will be notified of the decision within 5 working days. However, if you contact the licensing service the following day, you will be given a skeleton decision. If you can start off with the first item on the agenda, can we elect a chair, please?
Councillor Mahima.
Seconded.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Yes, I've introduced myself to everybody here, but just to repeat, my name is Councillor Sam Moama, and I am a councillor in Hackney Downs Ward, and I'll be chairing tonight's meeting. If I could just invite my colleagues who are, I'll just come to you, Amanda. Invite my colleagues to introduce themselves. Councillor Sizer.
Councillor Sizer, Councillor for Hoxton East and Shoreditch.
Councillor Patrick.
Councillor Sean Patrick, councillor for Kings Park Ward.
Thank you. Amanda.
Good evening. My name is Amanda North. I'm solicitor and supporting members this evening. Chair, I just wanted to make one point, is that would you be able to double check that both applicants are present and in attendance?
Oh, yes. So the applicant for Timbar, are you present? Can you just shout out? Is the applicant for the first item for Timbar in Stoke Newington High Street present? Yes, you are. Okay, great.
Number 8.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And then the applicant for 255 Mare Street.
Mr. Gokan just waved his hand, and obviously the premises as well. And I think my solicitor is also on the line, and obviously I'm counsel. I'm not sure how it's showing on the screen because I'm dialing in from away from chambers and home, so I'm having to use an iPhone. Apologise.
Okay. So on my screen, you are showing as Kevin Lee. Is that correct?
That's correct. Thank you, Kevin Lee of Council, 33 Bedford Row.
Great. And your solicitor is who? Sorry.
Yes. I'm going to have to spell it. Pravin.
Oh, Pravin. Okay.
Oh, you know Pravin. Good.
Well, that person said they were here. So.
Right, and that's his first name. Do you want me to spell his surname for you?
Yes, if you can.
It's right. It's J for Juliet, U for uniform.
Oh no, I've got it. Jugdal Singh. Pravin.
Okay. Good. Yeah, he's at Sylvine Solicitors.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. There aren't any apologies for absence received. I just wanted to let everybody know as well that we'll have 2 observers, councillors Richard Lupkin and Midnight Ross, who will not be participating, but they'll be observing as they'll be seeking to join the licensing committee. And so I want to move on to agenda item 3, any declarations of interest. Do members have any declarations to make or interested effect?
No, Chair.
No. Great. And then the minutes of the previous meeting. So there aren't minutes consideration. Agenda item 5, the procedure, which you've taken us through.
Yes, would you like me to go through it, Chair?
Yes, please.
Yes. So we've carried out all parties. You'll see an agenda item which sets out the licensing subcommittee procedure hearing. Step 1 has already been carried out, appointment of the chair and introductions. Step 2, the licensing officer will outline the report, and that will take 5 minutes. Step 3, the applicant's case. The applicant will present their case in support of their application or their representative, and that will take 5 minutes. Step 4, responsible authorities case. The chair will invite any responsible authorities, but I don't think that they're, well, in any case, that they will invite any responsible authorities that are present to make their representations, and that will take 5 minutes for each party. Step 5, other persons, that could be local residents or other parties. The chair will invite persons in attendance to present their case, highlighting their reasons for objecting or supporting the application as contained in their written submissions. And on average, it takes 5 minutes, but the time, dependent on the number of parties that want to speak, will be at the discretion of the chair. Step 6, discussion phase. The chair will structure and lead a discussion on the information presented, enabling the subcommittee members to clarify any points raised and ask questions if necessary. This session will take 15 minutes. Step 7, closing remarks. The chair will ask the parties to make their closing and final comments, and they can only be in relation to the issues raised during the discussion. Those remarks should be brief, and that will take 10 minutes. Any final clarification will be made as the final step in step 8, and then all parties will be asked to leave so that members can make their decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That takes us, before we take agenda item 6, the variation of a premises license, can I just remind everybody here to please, if you're not speaking, to please make sure that you're muted. If you do want to speak, or I will call you step by step as Amanda has outlined, so everybody will get a chance to speak, but please put your electronic hand up before speaking, and please don't speak unless I call you, but I promise I will call you if I see you. And please also do not use the chat function, as everything here is transcribed, and it's there just for technical information. So Mario will help people out if need be. And I just want to very quickly also introduce Rabia Patton and Suba Shramana, who will be supporting the committee in process here in their decision. So without further ado, oh, Amanda, did you want to come in?
Yes, I believe the applicant, Mr. Yetter, raised his hand earlier, and I don't know if he had a question for you to start with.
Okay, if you'd like to speak, Mr. Yetter, to ask your question. You are muted.
Everyone hear me now?
Yes.
I just want to apologize. I'm abroad, so my internet may not be 100%. I do apologize if you can't hear me or if I cut off in any section.
Okay, no, that's fine. We can hear you.
That's all. Just wanted to know it. Just wanted to let everyone know. That's all.
That's absolutely fine. Thank you for letting us know. Thank you.
No problem at all. My pleasure.
Okay, so I'll go to the Principal Licensing Officer to outline the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. Licensing Service received an application for the variation of the premises license under Section 34 of the Licensing Act 2003 for the timber, ground floor, 8 Stock Newton Road, to include recorded music from 10 to midnight, Sunday to Thursday, and from 10 to AM, Friday and Saturday, as stated within the report. Representations remain from the other persons. We have received one additional information from one of the other persons, which has been circulated. I have nothing else to add. Thank you, Chair. Sorry, Chair, you're on mute.
Chair, I don't know if you need to address any background noise.
I was just saying that if your background noise, I was just meeting somebody whose noise came on. Sorry, Mr. Yetter, I've muted you. So we'll come to the applicant to present your case, and you'll have, in support of the application, you have 5 minutes. Can you let me know if you'd like a time check or if you're fine?
Sorry, I didn't understand what you said.
No, that's fine. So I was just saying, I was calling on you you have up to 5 minutes to make your your case.
I would like to get the license. Reason, I mean,
Can I
I'm
just quickly,
experienced.
sir, can I just, yes, super.
Sorry, Chair. Mr. Idris, for the second item. So
Oh,
right now we are doing the first item for the
My
8th of
apologies.
New Delhi.
Yeah, I don't think Mr. Yetta, sorry to cut across, I don't think Mr. Yetta, they're dealing with another item first, not your item, and then I'll be,
Oh, sorry.
and then I'm
Yeah.
going to be speaking
Yeah.
for you. And if the chair obviously wants to hear from you directly, of course you can ask for that, but I'll be speaking
Okay,
for
no
you.
problem at all.
But we must stay
No problem at all.
quiet. That's another matter. Thank you,
Okay.
Chair.
No problem. Okay, so the applicant for this item, Mr. Kamal Karakas, please, and your
Yeah,
team.
hi.
You have up to 5 minutes. Would you like me to give you a 20-second time check? Yes, Amanda.
Chair, can we just double check that the applicant is as named on the application, because the name that's showing up there, I'm not sure if it matches or whether or not he's just speaking from someone else's computer. So would you be able to just double check on the applicant status?
So, yeah, we had checked previously, but just can you please clarify that you are the applicant, Kamal Karakas, please?
Yes, my name
That
is
you're dialing
Kamil
in
Karakus,
distance.
and I'm applicant of Timbar, 8 Stock Leamington Road.
Okay, and is there anybody else here who's speaking alongside you at this point?
No, just me, but
Okay.
my barmaid is here as well. Sometimes with some words, if I couldn't understand, just try to help
Okay,
me.
no, that's fine. So the other question I wanted to ask you before you have your 5 minutes, would you like me to tell you when it's 20 seconds before you stop?
Yeah, all right.
Okay, in which case your 5 minutes starts now.
Okay. I bought this place in 2017, and it was working as a bar and social club, and they were doing music and everything at that time already. And at the same time, the opening hours and closing hours, and on the system, my existing license. There are 24 hours opening license, but they were not using 24 hours as well, but they were making parties and music, same as what I'm doing. And later I made soundproof. When I bought the place, I made soundproofing and I repaired lots of things, the toilets and everything. And I made lobby for another door inside, so double door to go out, to cut the voice goes out, and but later when I opened, pandemic happened, so I have to close because the government decided to close that. After pandemic, when I opened that, they said you don't have a music license. The council said me I don't have music license. Then I applied, but at that time I applied just not for recorded music license. I applied for few things more, like my existing license. We can still 2 a.m. alcohol license, but I want to make that till 3 a.m. something, and live music and dance performancing and the other few things as well. I applied. At that time, police put objection on that because of special area, and one neighbor put objection that, and I lost that. But later, I spoke to council again, Mr. David, and I spoke to police officers, Mr. Neil. I spoke to him as well, and I asked them, do I have right to apply for recorded music license? Because I got already premises license, and on that I got already sale of alcohol license and indoor sporting license, weekdays till midnight and weekends till 2 a.m. And then they said you have to you have right to apply for variation again. Just if you want, it's easy for you to apply just for recorded music, including your existing licensing times. And I applied that because I listened them, and then I applied that. And I got made an appointment with police, and police came here. They checked my front doors, my back doors, and everything. They checked. They were very, very happy. And she said, I applied till weekdays till midnight, weekends till 2 a.m. But she said they are going to give me half an hour more. Weekdays, it means weekdays 12:30, and weekends 2:30 a.m. And then we were agreed to close the premises 2:30 a.m. weekends, and weekdays 12 midnight, 30 past midnight. We need to close, and because they said at 2 o'clock, when you finish the sale of alcohol, they need to finish their alcohol half an hour more, and then 1:30 you need to close, and then people start going slowly. And I accept that. I'm happy because I applied till 2 a.m. and police offered me to 2:30 a.m. and I accept that. And I had a
20 seconds.
meeting with the environmental service. Environmental service came here. They checked all my music and everything, and they put 84 decibel, not over 84 decibel, and we accepted. We made it stop that because I got
Fine.
special
Thank you.
machine for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Carapus. Hello.
No,
Okay.
just I want to say you welcome.
Okay, I'm going to mute the phone. Is it feeding back? Okay, thank you. Do my colleagues on the subcommittee have any points of clarification that they would like to ask Mr. Carapus at this point? There will be a chance to speak at a later point. Councillor Sizer.
Can I just clarify if the noise reducing system has already been put in place or whether it's to be put in place?
I made that already. And it's working now. It works. I was using that before when I applied first time about last year when I applied that. I bought them already, the system I bought, but the environmental service didn't come to calculate it with my neighbors or who lives upstairs. They came here with 2 people, and one inside my premises and one goes to the upstairs floors, and they measure that, and we stop on that measurement.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Sizer, anything else?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Patrick, do you have any clarifications? No. Can you?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
As you know, I'll leave it for the discussion stage. I just wondered why the applicant was asking for the music to go on longer than the opening hours of the premises. According to the record, it says the premises are open to 23:59 and wants music till midnight, so a minute longer. But it is a minute.
Okay.
Sorry. That is operating hours is 24 hours if they check, but the sale of alcohol license midnight, 12 midnight, weekdays, right, and weekends 2 a.m. The lady spoke, say some things about my operating hours. That's opening hours, 24 hours opening license.
It says here that your standard opening hours are to midnight every day, not to 2.
No, that is opening hours, operating hours, 24 hours.
No, it says the opening hours of the premises, standard hours. Yeah, sorry, my fault, I've written it wrong. Yeah,
the sale of alcohol, if you calculate, if you check the sale of alcohol license, that is different than operating hours.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, so just so I'm clear then, so you your premises is open potentially 24 hours. So are you suggesting that somebody could buy alcohol and then stay there all night?
No, I agree with the police. Like she offered me, I applied to 2 a.m. and they offered me, the police station offered me, weekends, 2:30 a.m. The music, 2 a.m. should be alcohol sale finished. And 2:30, they need to time, half an hour time to finish their already bought alcohol, glass of alcohol, or I don't know. And
Okay.
2:30 could be closed, finished everything.
Okay. I did have a question about dispersal, about how you're going to make sure that people leave the premises, but we can come to that later. If that's okay. Perhaps if you have a think about that, Mr. Caracas, that'd be great. Okay. Thank you. So if there's no, yes, Amanda.
Chair, maybe you want to ask the applicant to also think about the SPA, the Dalston.
Oh yes, of course.
She hasn't said anything.
Yes, so thank you for reminding me. One of the things that we did note in our pre-meeting was that your premises is within the Dalston Special Policy Area, the SPA. So with that, if for premises that are in the SPA, we have a policy LP10, which is about the cumulative impact of premises within the SPA, and how have you addressed kind of proving that your premises is operating in a way which doesn't add to the cumulative impact of other premises in the special policy area? Does that make sense?
Actually, I'm joining always every month the communities and pub watch communities, and if the council does anything about these kind of things, I joined that meetings as well, and I get what was it? Ask for Angela course as well, and especially I am accepting customer already, and when we had a meeting with the police and environmental services, well, they explained it. I got customer in that hours already inside, and just I want to music license. Just I want to add music license because
Okay.
the people come in already, and then I got good communication with around the other pubs worker or pub watch.
Okay, that's helpful. Mr. Caracas, if I could go to Amanda quickly.
Yes, Chair, only to say that I'm a bit concerned that he doesn't understand about the SPA policy, and I don't know if anyone is with him who can translate it for him, because I appreciate he's trying to respond, but I don't think that he fully understands the implications of the SPA policy, the Dalston policy.
Okay. Mr. Caracas, would you like me to read out what the LP10 special policy area?
Yes, you can. Okay. You can, because I spoke to police.
So if I could, so just very quickly. So what you've outlined is good, and we expect that of any applicant anywhere. The special policy areas, Dalston and Shoreditch, there's additional requirements on people applying for licenses or for extensions. The LP10 says it's the council's policy that where a relevant representation is made to any application within the area of the Dalston or Shoreditch SPAs, the applicant will need to demonstrate that the proposed activity and the operation of the premises will not add to the cumulative impact that is currently being experienced. And the policy is to be strictly applied. And so in addition to the things that you have said, I think perhaps when we get to the discussion stage, we will ask you to explain how you have proven that your premises isn't adding to the extra issues faced by virtue of being in the special policy area. Councillor Sizer, because I'm worried that we're going into the conversation now.
Yeah, just to reiterate what Councillor Moema said, that I think it's great to hear that you have good relations, but we need to see a demonstration of what that looks like in terms of the SPA. So in the conversation aspect coming up, it'd be really good to hear some concrete ways that you are engaging with residents. So,
okay, thank you. Right, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Councillor Sizer. If I can go to the other persons, got B1 and B2. And I think B1, you are on the phone, is that right? You're both need to unmute yourselves. Hello?
Oh, hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You have up to 5 minutes to speak. So actually, can I just check that B1 is here as well?
Sorry, Chair. The person representing is actually B2.
Oh, so B2, are you representing B1 as well?
Yeah, because it looks like from the update it has been messed up. So it is actually B1 supposed to be B2. B2
Okay,
supposed to be
great.
B1.
Thank you so much. So thank you, B1, for coming. Thank you for joining us on the phone. And you have up to 5 minutes to speak. Same as the applicant. Would you like a time check?
Yes, if you would, Madam Chair. I am in Appendix B2 is my written representation. Can I check you've also received a further written representation, which I asked licensing to circulate?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Well, without any further ado, then I will take the 5 minutes at the half-hour mark. So I don't have an electronic hand, so I may need to just make myself known to you.
That's fine.
I have this similar application was previously refused. I want to clarify this premises is in Dalston. It's right in the centre of the special policy area. Just note now the borough's legal advisors had to remind the applicant about the cumulative impact policy, and despite meeting the police and the noise service, doesn't even seem to be aware of the issue. The application is to turn the bar into a nightclub, not a nightclub you have to pay to get into, but one where the patrons can bounce from one venue to the next. The application for entertainment is outside the core hours on every single day of the week. I have a bird's eye view of everything that goes on at this premises, and I can also hear everything that goes on at this premises. And this premises seems to be run by two people. There's an older guy, which I believe is the licensee, and there's the younger man, who I believe is the DPS. Since Timbar opened in January 2020, I've witnessed the reckless conduct of the management of this premises. It's been really badly run. Several breaches of licensing controls, including unregulated entertainment, a lot of unregulated entertainment, and also out of hours service of alcohol. There were outrageous parties during COVID, very loud unregulated entertainment, and environmental health weren't officially operating, and unofficially they weren't concerned about reports of flagrant breaches of the social distancing rules. I wrote my original representation right at the height of the Partygate thing, but I mean, Partygate was a prawn sandwich compared to what happened here. This weekend, I was woken up after midnight by bass beat noise coming from this premises. 15 minutes of noise, which disrupted my sleep entirely at just about 1 o'clock, and it disrupted my plans for the weekend. The DPS was standing in the doorway. He looked like he'd had a drink. Had a kind of animated look about him, and he looked as if he was on a bit of an ego trip, the door open and the music blaring out. I'm not convinced about the tens applied for in contemplation of a license application. I believe that in any event, these are always of limited probative value in assessing how the premises will be operated ordinarily with an entertainment license. I believe the applicants have been on best behaviour, and this proposal will not ensure that the licensee will be compliant in the future. And in my view, and my lived experience, it allows a systemic risk. The applicant's changes in behaviour, which he's mentioned, have only been prompted by enforcement action, and the suggested conditions at 8.1 will not prevent a public nuisance. And I was woken up on Monday morning by bass at 2 a.m. by bass noise from another premises, and they have similar conditions, and that's been an ongoing problem for many years. And I think the responsible authorities, casual conditioning. I mean, I'd like to know clarification of who is going to enforce this condition, and how is this condition going to be enforced. As I say, there's a systemic risk of with the volume going up and down and intruding all evening. As I've mentioned in my written representation, we have this issue of they want to use the public realm as part of their premises. And with people going to and fro, in and out all night, it's obviously going to be a problem with sound breakout. And so the issue really is, well, one of the issues is if you have the problem with the, first of all, I mean, even if you just put aside the fact that I think the management's really reckless and will not enforce the conditions as being proposed. But even if you put that aside and let's say the conditions were being rigorously imposed, you've still got the problem with the fact that you've got people coming in and out all night constantly, and that is obviously going to be a problem with sound breakout. And the condition that has been suggested is just not going to cut the mustard, and certainly not from my point of view. I don't want to be listening to, I don't think it's appropriate
20
for the
seconds.
loud noise coming out of this place. And the big problem with that is there are non-smokers in the undesignated smoking area. As I've written, there is no proper licensing plan with no proper designated smoking area outlined on it. And I believe my time is almost up.
Oh, right on the button. Thank you.
Many thanks to you, Chair.
No problem. Thank you. Do any members have any points of clarification they would like to ask B2? No? Okay. Oh, Councillor Sizer, yes.
Just a quick question, if there'd been any awareness of the noise limiter that's been used, if that's had any positive effect that you've noticed, or if it has been negligible?
Well, it didn't have any positive effects on Friday night when I was woken up at 1 o'clock in the morning by the bass beat noise coming out of the premises. There's definitely been any improvement. I mean, there has been enforcement action against the premises license holder. So, I mean, I should think they're on best behaviour at the moment. They've been trying to get this license for over 6 months. And, the premises is for sale. So, they're clearly not trying to be, they're clearly trying making an effort, but even when they're making an effort, they're still causing me a nuisance.
Okay. Anything else, Councillor Sizer? Okay, Councillor Patrick, please.
Yeah, could I, the photos aren't date stamped, or maybe they are and I can't see it. Right, so these photos are quite old.
Some of them are old. I mean, the one I took the other day, which just to show you the lease is for sale.
Right.
There's one from November last year, and there's one I included, which was from the lockdown, and when they were having this lockdown party. That's from July of 2020. So I appreciate that was old, but
you say that. I mean, there's lots of premises around this area. You say that, can you be confident that the noise was coming from the premises that woke you up?
Absolutely. I have to get up, and part of the problem is I can't just try and get back to sleep. I've got to get up, and I've got to go, and I've got to check where this noise is coming from. I went and did that, and I found the noise was coming from this premises.
Thank you, Mr. Itzo.
Thank you. I have a question for you, clarification. I know that you are speaking to B2, but B1, there are a number of your neighbours who are signatories to that and have raised similar sorts of objections. Have you been in conversation with them?
Come to me.
To the other persons. We'll come back to you, Mr.
Sorry, are you talking to me? I'm B2.
Sorry, B2. Yes, we're just asking you. There are two. I'm just wondering if you had also spoken to B1.
No, I don't know who B1 are. I don't know who they are.
Okay.
Presumably they're from Miller's Terrace.
Okay, fine.
I can say the dispersal is another issue as well, which I should have mentioned, which is also a problem.
Okay.
I'm not convinced by an hour-long dispersal. It just seems to prolong the agony, rather than And I haven't mentioned, of course, while I wrote about the stockpiling of alcohol, which this long period allows for. Being that I think there's a real problem with there actually not being a closing time, and I think that's a real issue.
All right, thank you very much. We will come back to that in the conversation, but thank you for the clarification. Amanda.
Chair, I was just going to suggest if you wanted to check if other person B2 has actually directly spoken to the applicant to try and resolve any of the issues, or if they've contacted him to try.
Oh, yeah. You wanted to put that to B2 through me. Okay. Are you? Can I ask you that? Did you hear that?
Well, I mean, part of the problem is I have spoken to them, and they've tried to reassure me that they are my friend, which I take somewhat exception to. The other problem I've got to tell your legal person is, there is a lot of licensed premises in the area, and I can't manage all of them on my own. All of these premises, they want guidance and management and feedback and all of this because they want to push the envelope all the time, and they do this so that so they say to me, they always say to me at licensing hearings, they'll say, "Oh, why haven't you done this? Why haven't I done that?" It's not for me to do this. It's for the licensee to make their case, and they haven't done so.
Okay, they haven't done so. All right, thank you very much.
Chair, just to clarify, I do appreciate B2's comment. However, he has made a representation in this application, and so we have to specifically ask in respect of each application. It's not a case that we're expecting him to manage the whole area. It's just we need to be clear about what has and hasn't taken place. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah. You have to appreciate the cumulative impact is that there are dozens of licensed premises in the area. This is one is a particular problem with the breakout of noise, and I cannot be expected to liaise with all of them all the time.
Okay, thank you very much. And we've noted that. We're just making the decision based on this, but I do thank you for your comments. So we will move to a discussion on the information that has been presented, unless I think we're done, Councillors Patrick and Sizer. And so are there any, we'll come to you first then, Councillor Sizer, if there's any additional questions you'd like to put to the applicant or to B2.
Yeah, I think the heart of it, as far as I can see, it is the residents' impact and the cumulative impact. So that's what I want to address. And thinking that 6 months previously there was a rejection, what's happened within that time? How have you reached out to residents? How are you ensuring that as part of the SPA that you are not adding to the cumulative impact? So I just want real concrete reassurance about how you're reaching out and involving residents and not adding to the impact negatively.
Okay. If you could please answer that, Mr. Caracas.
Yeah. Can I say something? Firstly, my background.
Yes.
When I was in my country, I joined the army when I was in 13 years. And when I left the army, I was 33 years old. So I grew up in army. I grew up in government. I grew up all the rules. My body, my brain works like not illegal way. Always legal things. Always, if something illegal, I can't do that because I grew up in government rules.
Can I just stop, Mr. Caracas?
That is,
Mr.
yeah,
Caracas, Mr.
yeah,
Caracas.
that is my background.
Mr. Caracas, I'm going to speak before you continue.
Yes.
No, just to clarify, nobody is for a second suggesting that you are doing anything illegal. The question is around the specific policy requirements around
Yes.
LP10 and around LP11. So in the bundle of papers that we have, they are on pages 15 and 16, and it's specific. We're not suggesting or questioning you as an individual, as a human being. We are questioning whether or not what you have proposed is adding to the cumulative impact. So it's adding to the noise and the antisocial behaviour and the accumulation of licensed premises, and over and above the points that you have made about being part of the community and Ask Angela and so on. What specific things have you done as a premises in the special policy area to demonstrate fitness for this extended license?
Yes, not extended license, just apply for recorded music
Sorry,
license.
recorded music.
And yes,
variation. My apologies.
yes, sorry. And I put that limiter, and the council, the environmental service came again, and they made that limiter before. When I applied first time about last year, they didn't come to measure that. Now they came and they measured that. They said they won't allow over than that measurement. So it is 84 decibel and not more than that music is playing. And the second thing, I made another door to stop the voice goes out, and just allowed 6 people, not more than 6 people in front of my place as a smoking area. And I spoke to police officers, and all them, the police officer said they checked me on that 6 months or all the overs, and they were very happy to work with me. There is no any problem I am making in this area.
Okay, thank you. So,
just 1 second. Just 1 second. My partner and my barmaid wants to say something who works for me. Is that okay?
they will need to identify themselves just for the purposes of our records. Yes, if they're participating. Hello.
Hello there. My name is Omot, and I'm partners with Camille, and I also work in the bar. And his English is not very good, so I'm kind of like helping him at the same time as well. There's a lot of things that he missed. This other gentleman was on the phone, and he was like, the things that he was saying, a lot of them were like sort of not really accurate. Over the last 6 months, there's been like, we made a lot of changes because they came in from the environmental services, and they actually checked the limiter, and they put a limit on it, which they actually went to the neighbors and they spoke to them, making sure that it was like, it wasn't disturbing them in any way.
Okay.
So they were happy with that, and they even spoke with the neighbors. The neighbors are really happy. They said we can't hear anything, even though we had it on the max.
I'm very happy in principle to hear from you. I just want to get advice from Amanda and Suba that this is fine and this is proper.
Chair, I was going to actually say that I was a bit concerned that the applicant was struggling a little, and I'm not sure that he completely understood the point about the Stolston special policy area point. So I was going to ask you to see if there was an interpreter or somebody next to him who could help, because I think we don't have a choice. We have to get the assistance, and I appreciate that the co-owner is maybe not the applicant, but he does have an interest in the premises. So I'm happy for him to help, and I think to help him to achieve the points that he needs to cover. Thank you.
So thank you. Umut, if I could just
for that things, when I spoke to police, police said to me, like, when you finish, they said like 2 o'clock, stop alcohol selling, and half an hour more to drinks and the music finished. 2:30 should be finished. But at this time, people, I should take not all of them together, like separately sending them, because we don't want people stuck in the road in this area. We want to send them straight away to outside of the place, this
Okay,
area.
can I thank you. Can I just quickly interrupt Mr. Karakas, and also, so if it's still with you, to ask both of you, if you have spoken to the police and you're moving people on, what concrete actions have you taken in the last few months about dispersals to move people on so that they are moving away from people's homes? And in light of the comment that you made, that your manager made, that the neighbours are happy, we do have, although they're not present, we do have written representations from 12 people at B1, which suggests that there is a bit of a mismatch in whether or not people are happy.
I think they were, when they sent to me an email, council sent to me email, their address is, there is behind the places, the street, even not my behind, my backyard, the other side. And I didn't know. I tried to speak to them, but again, when the police and council came, I showed them my back place as well, my backyards. I never use my back door. No one come inside, no one goes out from the back door, and that place is I don't know, the other Miller Court or Miller.
Yes, Miller Court.
Yes, it is away from me, but I don't know why they put objection on this. But I never use my backyards, my back door. I use always my front door, and because we are here, 2 bar downstairs bar as well. They use that backyard as a smoking area, not me. I am not using that area. So my customer, all my customer came in front of from front door. Never use back door. Never use back street.
Okay.
And the other thing, sorry, just I want to answer one question the gentleman explained. He came, I have seen that, yes, on Friday, the door about opened or something. And I asked my people, they said, because the front door, when the customer opened, it stayed there. It doesn't, not automatic closing door. And today, the gentleman complained about, I always listen my neighbors or the police or local authority. When they send me any letter, any complaint, straight away, I sorted out that problem. And today, my company came, I made that, I spent about £400 and I made automatic door. Now, the door is, when the customer open, it closes straight away. It doesn't leave open.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Karakas. Councillor Patrick, do you have any questions for the applicant or B2? I have muted you, sorry, Karen. No, nothing. Okay. So, Anya, go ahead, Councillor Sizer.
Just very briefly as well, it being part of the SPA as well, one of the key concerns that we always will have is around safety for women and girls. It was good to hear about the Ask Angela implementation, but I'd really like to hear what other proactive measures are being taken to ensure safety for women and girls in the area, because that is one of the key concerns that we'd have in that area.
If you'd like to answer that, please, Mr. Karakas.
Yeah. Again, as a personality, my personality, no accept any like that kind of things, the woman or homosexuality or the children, ever, never. When I get that course, I learn more things as well. And ever, never happened anything in my place, that kind of things I haven't seen. And he wants to say something as well.
Yes, of course.
Okay, hello. Yeah. So apart from the Angela, and there's another, there's a wave, another wave course as well, and everything. We have the badge and everything, all the staff wear that all the time. We're aware of it, and we always have like a female staff. To help out, female customers sometimes, because sometimes they might not feel comfortable. And also we have the security comes around and checks everything's fine, checks how people are, if they have some drink, make sure that everyone gets out safe. And apart from that, let's go.
Yeah, and then we put that sign in especially in the toilets and in the backside and in my bar. Even I am doing mini cup. I got front screen and back screen. I put that sign on there.
Okay.
Even that, in my personal life, there is zero tolerance. I don't have, zero tolerance. As this is my personality.
Of course. Thank you very much. So I'm going to go to
You're
Amanda
welcome.
and then Councillor Patrick.
Yes, Chair, just a suggestion that although I know that the applicant's trying very hard to communicate his point, I think we need to hear, because we're running out of time, to hear a bit maybe from his co-partner to try and get to the main points that Councillor Sires has been asking about, because I think we're not touching on them sufficiently. And also, Chair, I don't know if you also want to clarify, because I don't think it's been made clear, what actions did the applicant take when he says he responded to any complaints? Because we don't understand really what he actually did, apart from receiving them, and he says he tried to resolve them, but it's not clear what he did. Thank you.
Okay. To resolve the complaints from the neighbors, first of all, we did have complaints some time ago, like about 3-4 months ago. They were complaining about the bass, and this was before we installed the soundproof doors. So we had complained that there was a lot of bass on one particular side. So we removed that into the center of the bar, and we kind of resolved that issue a bit. But then we had problems with the sound coming from outside. So that's the reason why we actually installed the soundproof doors. And that problem was solved. Apart from all the problems that this gentleman mentioned, I think it was B something, I don't know what his name is. Yeah, everything that he mentioned was back 6 months ago. Like for the photos that he showed and every complaint that he's making, this was like way before, at the time when our first license application was refused. After that, we made a lot of changes. We installed the doors, the soundproof doors, and we had environmental services coming checking the sound. They're checking the limiter. Basically, we've done everything we can. And today, because we received a letter saying that there was a complaint about the noise, like 15 minutes or something, we installed automatic doors, which means when the customer opens the door, it doesn't stay open, it shuts automatically. And we installed that today. I mean, we're trying everything we can. Apart from that, I mean, what other complaint does he have that's recent, apart from the 15 minutes that he mentioned? I mean, apart from that, we have no problem. We spoke to the neighbors. I have the phone number of the neighbors. I speak to them all the time. And the only complaint that we had about the neighbors is the smoking, which had nothing to do with us. It was the bar next door. And sometimes they do complain about the noise, but they don't give an exact address. They say number 8. I mean, downstairs they have lots of parties. They make a lot of noise. Sometimes they text me 3 o'clock in the morning, our neighbors, saying that there's noise. And I told them we closed like 2 hours ago. So they don't know where the noise is coming from sometimes. So most of the time it's not us. I mean, every complaint that this gentleman has made, it's not recent. It's like way months ago, and we've done a lot of stuff since then. I mean, what other complaints does he have recently like that we haven't done? I mean, apart from the 15 minutes.
So just before I move on to Councillor Patrick, so with respect to every member of the public is entitled to make a statement to the licensing committee. So B2 has done that, and we're taking everything that is said here in good faith that everybody has said, applicants and members of the public, and it's just for you to address some of those points that people have raised. But I'll move on to Councillor Patrick now.
So can I add about the
I have to move on to Councillor Patrick. We're really running over time, and we have to take the second councillor, and we'll go to Amanda, and I'll come back to you.
Thank
Okay,
you,
thank
Chair. Although, B2's complaint was about this weekend. They say they've done everything, but B2 said he was woken up this particular weekend. So that suggests that everything hasn't been done, and 15 minutes when you're asleep is 15 minutes if you're woken up, and often disturbs people for the whole of the night. So I don't think we should say that everything's been done. Also, I want B2 sent in a photo that there's a photo of a sign saying that lease is for sale on your bar. Could you address that, whether it is for sale and whether what's changing? Are you still going to be in charge? Is your colleague still going to be around? You know, we need to know who's going to be running this bar. You talked about how you run it, and your honesty and your law abiding, how you abide the law. But you know, I've got concerns that it may be somebody else. So perhaps you could address that, or get a colleague to help address that.
Mr. Caracas, if you wouldn't
Yes.
mind.
For the sale of lease, when I applied for license, and they refused it, and I put here lots of money, all my life, I may say, all family, my brother and me put here. And really, when I bought this place, there was nothing. Even I showed someone in council already the pictures, the holes, some things, and I made perfect soundproofing, very nice, very expensive stuff I spent, and I repaired all these things. But after pandemic, my business, this kind of business goes down, and I'm losing always. I can't pay my rent, I can't pay electricity, I can't pay them, because the gentleman said people coming in and out. I hope people may come in and out, but not really. Not really. I don't have that much customer. Maybe once in a blue moon, I got a party and I applied for 10 from council. And that's why I have to sell, you know, otherwise I'm going to die. I have to sell the business. But still couldn't sell. Still I couldn't sell. And then the business, people make a business to make money, but not like a black money, to clear money. I want to work, I want to make money, and I want to take it to my family, my kids. But I couldn't do that here. And I am doing extra minicab to cover expenses even. And he is my nephew, my partner next to me. You know, I have to put that sign to sell it.
Sorry, are you selling them? Sorry to interrupt.
Yes,
you've gone into a lot of detail. What I want to know is, is the lease up for sale? Are you selling the premises if you get a buyer? Are you about to sell the premises if you have a buyer? Is it still for sale?
Yes, it is still for sale, but you know, if this is not belong to getting license then going to sell, or if don't get license to sell. No, it was not like that. You know, the business is not your child or not your partner. You know, when you make money, you can sell, or when people offering good money, you can sell that. Like now, there is a lady try to make a not bar or not clubbing already. I never doing clubbing. The gentleman explained that we are doing clubbing, but no clubbing. When we have party, at that time we are making that, and people bring in their food from outside. The lady tried to buy that to make like easy things, coffee shop, some things like that. But still, they were checking, they were asking to cancel something.
Mr. Karakas, if I can, sorry, I think you have answered Councillor Patrick's question there.
Okay.
That it is for sale. Did you have any further questions, Councillor Patrick? Yep.
Yeah,
Hi.
can I just say, can I just clarify something? Sorry.
Yeah.
So what happened is, because we don't have a license, we
Yeah.
we can't make any money, because like we can't have any parties. So we have to keep applying for a 10 every time, and sometimes we run out, like we can't have any more. And so that's the reason why, and especially because the application, the first one, was refused. So we thought there's no chance. I mean, we can't do any business, we can't do anything. So what we've done is we actually did put out for sale, but obviously, if we get this extended license and everything, of course, we're gonna run this place. We're not gonna sell it. There's no way. I mean, we want to run this place. We want to continue,
because we want to make money.
we want to continue making changes, and
Okay,
in the future, even like make it like a lounge sort of thing, not really like a nightclub. We want to move away from this nightclub thing and move into like a, maybe sell food as well in the future. Basically, we just want to change it into a different thing.
Okay.
The thing is, at this moment, because we don't have the license, we have no choice than to do actually private birthday bookings, like birthday parties.
Okay.
If we
Can I-
didn't, sorry.
Can I ask you something? No, that's really helpful. So, in terms of the hours that you're asking for,
Yeah.
I think the contention from the objectors is that it's quite late, given that it's a residential area, and I know you have put in place the noise limiters.
Yeah.
But what's
Okay.
your feeling about not having those very late hours?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't.
What are your feelings as the applicants of having not those very late hours, so not having music until 2 a.m.?
We don't have music until 3 a.m.
No, you're proposing that.
That's what you're proposing in the application.
So I'd like to suggest.
No, not till 3. It was we actually applied for 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I said too.
That's what we wanted.
Right. Okay, Chair. Can I suggest? I'd like to put to the applicant that instead, if we grant the variation, that we grant it till midnight, Friday and Saturday, and 11 o'clock on the rest of the week, including Sundays, rather than 2 o'clock at the weekend. All the recorded music finishes at 12, because we've heard from the that the music does disturb residents.
The thing is, we already the thing is, we will propose like 2:30 Friday and Saturday 2:30. No, 2 o'clock. The music stops at 2, and then everyone gets out 2:30. That was in the condition that we kind of like we get rid of like the 24-hour license. They said we're gonna get rid of that and then just have like 2 a.m. So that's the reason. Like that's what we're happy with.
Okay.
I want to pass it on.
So you're not agreeing to my suggestion, and just so it's for the record that the music finishes at 12 on Fridays and Saturdays and finishes at 11 during the week.
Oh no! When the police sent me an email, it says on that I applied to weekdays, same as my sale of alcohol license.
No.
Same time, and
No.
the police give me, yeah, but up to 11 o'clock you don't need to apply for license already. That's why, you know, my opening hours and the closing hours is 12 midnight. And that's why I want to till 12 midnight. Actually, weekdays is not important. Weekends is important because I can apply for maybe, I don't know how many, 24 10 license. That is not enough to make enough money for covering your expenses even. And then I applied to 2 a.m., but the police offered me to 2:30 a.m. weekends. So till 12 is, I can't do business till 12.
Okay, I'm going to come to Amanda, but before I come to you, Mr. Karakas and Umut, whilst I understand the point that you've made about you have approached the police and you've discussed what conditions they would be happy with, we as the licensing committee have to take on board not just the police's, but also objectors' points of view, and also the council as the licensing authority. We do not have any decision making within your conversations with the police or the fire brigade or the licensing officers. We are simply looking at all of the information in the round here. My point, which I'll come back to, is that you are within this special policy area.
Yeah.
And it does not feel like so far what you have talked about justifies a 2 a.m. close of the music in the special policy area, which is what we have to, it's the council policy, we have to as a committee have regard to, and nothing else. So that's where we're at. So Councillor Patrick is trying to find out, given that, what movement would you have to try to balance, if we can't, and I have a lot of sympathy for your situation with your business, but that's also not something we can have regard to. It's simply about what is in the objectives of the policy. So we're trying to balance the requirements of meeting the objectives of your premises and meeting the needs of local residents. It's really as simple as that within the special policy area. So can I just, Councillor Patrick, did you want to add anything to that before I come to Amanda?
Chair,
No?
I think you've highlighted what I was trying to get at.
Yes, okay, great. Amanda, and then I think we need to move on to closing statements.
Thank you, Chair. I do agree with everything you've said, but we have to have regard for the fact that the premises is in the centre of the Dalston Special Policy Area. So I'm not sure that the applicant completely understands about the special policy area, and that's not his fault. It's just, I understand maybe it's a language barrier, and that's all. We do understand that. But yes, it is correct that we can't have regard for financial circumstances. So his financial circumstances and not being able to make enough money, that is not something we can take into consideration. What is important, as you said, is the impact on local residents and how it affects them. I know you've taken on board the points they've raised already. I just wanted to ask you, Chair, if you wanted to inquire about the following points, which I think may assist you as well, is what was the outcome of the 10s? Were there any complaints or any issues when they had the 10s on the dates? Because they've done them over the last 6 months. So I don't know if you want to just check on that. Also,
Yes.
there was a gap between the closing time of the premises and the playing of the music. So I don't think that question was answered as to why there was a gap between, you know, a later gap for music than there is the closing time. And then finally, because they said that there's a lot of issues with the door being opened and the door not closing, I know they've changed the door now, but is there anybody monitoring that door? So there should be somebody monitoring that door if it's going to have an impact on local residents. You know, there's a chance of opening it and then the noise goes out, you know. So I don't know if we need to explore what measures are they taking. Are they just leaving the door to manage itself? We don't know.
Yes.
If that helps you, Chair, because I want you to be satisfied that you've got all the information to make the decision. That's why I'm raising these points. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Karakas, yes.
Yes. Sorry, madam, I understand the special area. I know that I spoke to police and I spoke to council. I spoke David. I called him on personal line, and I spoke to environmental service, and I spoke to my neighbors who complain. If I know them, I spoke them. I sort out the problem straight away. How can I sort out? I sorted out the problems. The gap between my licensing hours, there is no gap. I applied till 2 a.m. weekends and 12 midnight weekdays. But the police offer me half an hour more, and I didn't apply for that. The police offer me half an hour more. Otherwise, I applied till 2 a.m. in the morning weekends and 12 midnight at weekdays. The others, the
The
complaint.
other question is about the door. Yeah.
Just one, my neighbor complained who opposite of me, the gentleman B2, I think. Even he is not saying me or sending me or speaking to me as a personal, then I will sort out, no problem. Believe me, I will sort out the problems. And I have seen that the door was open, and I contact with my nephew, and I asked him, as an official as well, I asked him why you left the door open. And he explained me, the people, the customer, 4 customer maybe just it, and then the door was closed. And I made today, I called company, the company came. Sorry, yes, I am. And then when we had the
please, I'm trying to help you, I promise.
all this,
Mr.
madam, yes, sorry.
Please stop. So the question is not what steps you have taken so far, is that how are you going to make sure
yes,
in the
these
future?
things,
You have explained that you've
yes,
had
I'm
the
coming to
fitting.
there, madam. These things, when we don't have any parties or just normal day, even we didn't have that much. When we have license and doing parties or some things, we had 2 doormen, and my door is always closed. When we had, like, if you can check the tents, didn't have any problem on the tents, because at that time I got customers already inside. So my doorman is there, and closed security and doorman, and especially as a personal, I am always in front of door when we had a party.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, madam.
Mr. Patrick, do you have a question? Clarification? You're muted.
Right, I wanted to clarify, what time was the B2 woken up on Sunday, Monday?
Yeah, I haven't had a word in this discussion yet, I should point out. I was woken up, I think I put it in my thing, I was woken up at 10 to 1.
Okay. So could I ask the applicant why he was playing loud music? Did he have a 10 for Sunday, Monday, 10 to 1, because he hasn't got a license to play music at that time of night?
It was not me.
Okay. The applicant says it was you, you said not.
No, it's not me.
Mr. Crackers, can I just allow BT to come in? As he said, he hasn't had a chance to speak that much.
All right, sorry.
And we are running over. Oh, he's left accidentally. Okay, we have lost B2. Hopefully he'll dial back in. Amanda, I think we should move on.
Yes, should we just wait for what was your, maybe you could go around and get final comments and see if B2 comes back, in case he wants to say anything further.
Okay.
Is that okay? So unless members have any other questions of the applicant.
I don't. Councillor Sizer and Patrick, any further questions?
No further questions, no.
Okay, great.
Can
So hopefully,
I
Mr. Crackers, please do not speak unless I'm calling you. I will come to you.
Okay.
Thank you very much for rejoining us, B2.
My apologies, I think I got cut off.
That's fine. I was about to ask for closing statements, but you were in the middle of saying something. So if you wanted to do that, that would be fine.
I would like to participate briefly in the items that have come up in the discussion.
Of course, yes.
Okay, well, there was a lot of unregulated entertainment at this premises. The applicant did break the rules. I think the applicants demonstrated lip service to your concerns and my concerns. And I think talking to the responsible authorities is a minimum requirement, and it's no substitute for good practice. I think you've heard the excuse before, no rules were broken. The applicant and his staff did nothing to resolve my complaints about noise until they were forced to by environmental health. I complained personally to Mr. Caracas about the noise, and he told me what he told you. He has good relations with his neighbours and nobody's complained. The barman, the barman, he woke me up on Friday night. He deliberately opened the doors and stood right bang in the middle of them. I don't believe a word he says about anything much. And it's easy to prop open these doors. I don't know anything about them being automatic. I've seen nothing. I've seen no workmen. I've seen nothing going on there today, and I've no idea what that actually means. I complained to him previously about the noise, and what he did was he pointed to a passing police car and told me I could complain to them. So I don't believe a word of all of this soft soap you've received from them. 85 decibels is as loud as a police car siren, and I don't think the dispersal policy is worth the paper it's written on. It's so vague with expressions like external disposal of bottles at a reasonable time and discourage assembly at the end of the evening, whenever that might be. Mr. Caracas said to you that he only has a few people in his smoking area, 6 people in his smoking area. Well, that's not the condition that's there. It says 6 smokers in the smoking area. So you can have as many people in that smoking area as you want. And he wants to use that outside area as part of the premises. This is a fundamental flaw in the proposal that is before you. And I would really at some point like the council to address this fundamental flaw, because you have people coming in and out of there constantly. People aren't smoking, but people who want to get out of a noisy area and have a conversation in the street after they've had alcohol, then they'll be talking loudly in the street, and they're going in and out and in and out and in and out all the time. And there's sound breakout all the time. And that's something that the noise people take no account of at all whatsoever. And that is a fundamental systemic flaw in what's been going on here in this special policy area. And I agree with the council, commercial problems seem to be far more important than the licensing objectives to the applicant. And the applicant contradicted themselves about the drinking up time. He said there was half an hour in the discussion when he's got an extended 1 hour in the thing. He doesn't even know what his own management scheme of things are going to be. And I think all in all, it's a real, they're just wasting my time as usual. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much, BT. Thank you to you both. So we move on to concluding remarks. And only if you have something new or additional to say. We have up to 2 minutes, but we have already gone over. So please, you're entitled to your time, but if you've got anything new, sorry, that has already been raised, referring to something new.
Yeah, the noise, about the noise, when the council came here to complain about the noise, even I was closed at that time, completely closed, because there was my neighbor downstairs and they were making music as well. And then last week, the police came here because there is a complaint, they said. And the police came here, we were empty. There was no one, no music playing. And the police was very upset. And he said, where the music coming from? And he said, ask, do you have party? We replied, no party, because we didn't have party.
Caracas,
the place was empty.
Mr. Caracas, can I just, so that this is your final opportunity to speak to your application, to the variation. So I encourage you and Umut to use it.
Yes, the gentleman said, they sort out the problem about the door. I am going to show you. I done this door just now. When you open the door and it closed itself. And the other way is, well, when you open the door, see, it closed itself.
Mr. Caracas, just to remind you,
is well same, madam.
Mr. Caracas,
Yes.
your application is for a variation to 2 a.m.
Yes.
So this is the last 2 minutes to talk about that. We have discussed your.
Okay, he wants to say something as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think your main concern is the neighbours at this point, and also the dispersal of the obviously, you know, SBA policy and stuff. Camille, he's aware of all this. I mean, if you ask him anything in particular, he will explain how he deals with that situation. But right now, he's just having a bit of a difficulty explaining himself. We get on really well with the neighbors, and for us, obviously, neighbors are really important. I mean, we do everything to stop the noise. You know, if they come to us and complain about anything, we take it very serious.
Okay.
And I promise even B2, I give promise to B2, if he had in the future, if he had any things, he can directly call to me or come to me. Okay. I promise, I swear on everything, I will sort out that, no problem. Because the human or my neighbor is very important for me. Very important.
Thank you, Mr. Caracas.
You're welcome.
Do I have time to
1 minute? We are so over time. We've lost.
Okay. Okay. So what I just wanted to say lastly is we always have a security outside controlling everything. I mean, people just don't come in and out all the time. That's not right. Obviously, we have private parties most of the time, and we only allow people who are invited to the party. And sometimes we do ticketed events, which means only people who are invited, they can come, or if they have a ticket which they bought online. I mean, people just don't come in and out of this place. That's not right. And second, yes, we do only have 6 people outside. It's not just smokers. It's just, I mean, it's not just anyone. It's only 6 people allowed outside. If they want to go outside from the smoking area, then the security has to obviously check them again, and stuff like that. But they can't stay around the smoking area. The security always make sure that only 6 people are outside, not just smokers, but anyone.
Okay.
And obviously, if we can show you the CCTV and everything. That's exactly what we do during parties, Fridays, Saturdays, and especially the weekends and stuff. And apart from that, I mean, we didn't break any law or anything.
Okay.
All this time.
Okay, thank you. I just want to reiterate, no one is accusing you of breaking the law, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
D2, do you have any final, very brief concluding remarks in addition to what you said? Or
yeah, I do. The applicant wants to hold parties. I mean, they made that very clear. Now, I've just heard this new claim that these are private parties. This premises is open to the public.
No.
Well, there's no condition that says that these are private parties. There's nothing about having ticketed events in the conditions. And there's no condition either about there being just 6 people outside. And these conditions have not been suggested by the applicant at all. There are 6 smokers outside where there can be an unlimited amount of people outside. And there can be an unlimited amount of people outside for 24 hours a day. There's no diversity in this offer under policy LP1. They're not proposing a reduction in the operating hours. They're not proposing any additional conditions. They're not, for instance, proposing a smokers only condition. They failed to address the proposal wouldn't add to the cumulative impact. The management's got a poor track record, a disruptive operator, and the proposal's got more holes than Swiss cheese. To be cliched about it, I've just had enough of this place. I really could do with some peace of mind. I could really not be, it's completely disrupted my weekend, what happened. And, during the lockdown was just incredible. I mean, it was just scandalous. And, you're saying they haven't broken the law? I'm saying they bloody well broke the law. The place is for sale. You can give them an improved license if that's what they've applied for, and then they can go and some God knows who would be running it after that. It has been a problematic venue, a problematic premises. And for my own risk assessment and my own lived experience of this application is a red flag. And you're just getting lip service, and not very good lip service too. Real noise coming out of this place, and there's nothing in what the applicant has said that gives me any confidence at all. Like I said, I spoke to both of these people, and they both gave me soft soap about. They just gave me a whole load of nonsense. So
okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Angie. I'll leave it at that. And people do come in and out at all times, all the time.
Okay, thank you. With apologies to everybody else who's waiting for the next item, thank you very much. Can I hand over to Amanda to explain the next step, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. All parties who were in attendance for the first item can now leave the meeting. If you wish to know the outcome of the decision of the licensing subcommittee, you can contact the licensing office or the licensing service tomorrow to receive the summary decision, and the main decision comes out in 5 working days. That's what we're aiming to do, so you'll have your written decision at that time. Thank you to the applicant, etc., for the first item, and we will now proceed with the second item, 255 Mare Street. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to remove you, Mr.
So I finished, yeah, now?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome, madam.
Great.
Chair, could I ask for a 3-minute comfort break before the next item?
Yes, we can do that. We'll come back in 3 minutes.
Yeah, thank you.
You can go non-visual whilst you don't have to disconnect. You can go non-visual and mute whilst you're disconnected. Thank you.
And I just want to apologise to everybody else who's waiting very patiently for the next item. But thank you for staying. Okay, are we back? Right. Do we have Amanda back? Yes, okay. We have Mr. Yatta and Mr. Lee and Pravin. Oh, and David, you're here too. Excellent. Okay, so we can start on the next item. Thank you again. And with apologies to those that have had to leave, I think one person, C14, had to leave. So that's in the chat, but can we note that for the minutes, please, that C14 had to leave. As I said at the top of the meeting, there are a number of people here that that have listed themselves as other persons. So just in the interest of saving time when we get to the discussion, can I just check who's here? And so you will know which so I will call out your reference as you appear in the documents. And please, can you just indicate that you are here? So C1, are you here? No? Okay. C2? C3? C4?
Yep, C4 is here.
Thank you. C5? C6, I think, is
C6. Yeah, I'm here.
wonderful. Thank you. C7, C8, C9, C10 declined.
Sorry, Chair, we got C9.
Pardon?
We have C9.
We have C9 present?
Yeah.
Are they here? Okay. C9. Okay. C10. C11. C12.
Yes, I'm here.
Hello. Yeah. C13.
I'm not sure everyone knows where the numbers are, who's on the call. But yeah, that it's on the document. So just there might be people
Okay,
here
so-
who don't realize they have a number.
I mean, in prepping, I'm assuming that governance services would have told people what their appendix number is. It's just so that I don't inadvertently identify somebody who doesn't want to be named, that's all. So that's the reason for that. C13, I think we're expecting.
Chair, just to say that they should be looking at the agenda papers and that will identify their representation by the appendix number. That's why they've been given a number. Thank you.
Okay. C14, as I said, had to leave. And C15.
Sorry, Chair, we got C13 as well within the call.
Okay, so I have here C6, C4, 6, 12, 13, and 9 in no logical order, but yes. Is that right? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are 5 other persons here to speak, and I don't know whether you want to. Obviously, if all 5 of you speak, that will be 25 minutes, which is we want to balance you all being able to speak and having a reasonable amount of time for that, given that the applicant gets 5 minutes. So can I ask if I don't know if any of you know each other, or if you're able to speak to more than one. So
I'll C4. I don't think I know anyone else who's proposing to speak.
okay, fine. We'll probably have to just play it by ear in that case. Okay, I don't want to leave any more time. So I'll hand it.
Maybe give them 2 minutes each to start with, and then they can say more in the discussion phase.
Two seems a bit harsh. Let's give 3.
Okay.
3 minutes each. Okay. 2 seems a bit too much of a cut. Sorry. Okay, so we'll go back to the licensing principal licensing officer to outline the report, please. For 255 Mare Street. Yep.
Thank you, Chair. So the second item we're going to consider is for application for a premises license under Section 17 of the Licensing Act 2003 for 255 Mare Street for recorded music and to authorize the supply of alcohol for the consumption on the premises as stated within the report. We got the representations from the Environmental Protection, Police, Licensing, and other persons. We have not received any other additional information and I have nothing else to add. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to call now on the applicant. We have Mr. Gokanyeta, and he has his counsel, Mr. Kevin Lee, and the applicant agent, Pravin Jagar Singh. that correct? To present your case. So between you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll be,
Would you like a time check or are you fine?
you can give me a time check, thank you. Can I start off by saying I can see there are up to 15 objectives, and there's this reference to an agenda pack. I don't have the pack, so I have no what people have said.
Let me just pause your time. So the agenda pack that we're referring to is the public agenda pack. It is published on the council's website. And it's the papers for today's subcommittee meeting.
Right. Well, my solicitor's listening. It might be he can go on and get it.
It is publicly available and it has been for 7 days.
Right.
Okay. So do you want to start?
Yes. I'm just explaining it. It might be because I'm travelling around, which is why I'm having to do this remotely.
Okay.
Hence, that's why maybe the pack hasn't been caught up. But I'll let my solicitor see if we can go and find that. It's only so I can hear what people have to say or read what they say, particularly
okay.
Time everything's taken. But the plan is that I will speak essentially, but Mr. Yetta, the panel, I think it appropriate, can also say some things. To save time, because I'm very conscious of the amount of time and everybody's sitting so low, you will have seen the application, and I see no point in repeating what's in the application. I assume the council have all seen the application papers, so I don't need to repeat those. And I also presume the licensing panel have seen the representations from both the licensing officer, which is a 2-page document, but also the representations from the police, which is another 2-page document on a standard form. So I don't need to rehearse those, but I take it you've seen them. What I want to do is pick up the details. As you know, these premises have been around some time, and they had some problems last year, and they clearly fell on their sword. They took advice and very sensibly, having lost their license because they weren't operating the premises in a satisfactory manner, went away on my advice and regrouped. And they have come back with a fresh application. So you've got the application for the premises and an application from, as it were, a human, and then you've also got the designated premises supervisor. So effectively, you've got 3 things before you, but in reality, you've got 2 things. Can I say straight away that in their application, and this was something the police picked up, they sought times outside the core hours, and I'm instructed very clearly that my clients would accept working within the core hours, with something that frankly they should have picked up somewhat earlier, but it was something the police themselves picked up. So they accept that they should stick to the core hours. That's why they are set out, and they don't wish to go beyond the core hours. So to the extent you need to vary both the applications, can I invite you to note that wherever they don't align with the core hours, that they should now align with the core hours. And I see your solicitor nodding ahead with me. In terms of the people, can I tell you a little bit more about the people and the personality? So what's happened is the premises have gone away and had a complete shake-up. They realised that they need to have people in who are responsible people and people who can be trusted, we say, to ensure that the conditions are complied with. So I've dealt with Mr. Yetta, who, as I say, can speak if necessary. You have his details, date of birth. Before he started the main part of his career, he actually did help with managing the premises quite some time ago, these premises, and there were no problems when he was there. He went off, and his principal business now for some time, can I just call up the document, is that he is what's called a close protection services provider, otherwise known in general terms, but not so precisely, as a bodyguard. And he has done that for, excuse me, some 21 years, working in the nightlife industry, pubs, bars and clubs. But as part of a close protection officer, of course, he has to be licensed. So you appreciate that means not just being licensed for providing a service, but that means having criminal records checked and so on. He doesn't have a criminal record. And of course, he has periodic checks for his close protection officer. license, so he can carry on with that. He's actually been brought up in the Hackney area. He's very familiar, and his family's in the area. So this is an area in which he has, as it were, a personal as well as a professional interest. What the practice has done with completely reorganizing itself is it has got rid of the previous security firm who led to the problems which led to the license being taken away or suspended then taken away. And now Mr. Yetter will be heading up a complete new security team. There'll be security there all the time the premises are open. On a Monday to
30 seconds.
Sorry?
30 seconds.
Oh, right. Well, you've got 2 staff Monday to Thursday, additional staff if necessary, and then weekends 3 security staff. There'll be female and male necessary to search people. The music is background only, and they have a decibel checker on the wall, which is good advice. The rear garden will have security checks all the time, and that will close by 9 p.m. So the rear guard, which I know concerns people, will be physically shut off. The other gentleman, Mr. Kaya, has the Dirty Martini bar and the Mem and Laz bar in the area as well. Maybe I can pick up some other points.
Yes, we can come back in the wider conversation. That's just your first opening 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So does the subcommittee have any points of clarification?
Yes, Chair. I'd like a bit more information about Mr. Yetter. As I understand it, bodyguards and SIA door supervisors are different, have different functions. You say Mr. Yetter has worked in the industry. Perhaps you could tell us exactly what he's been doing in the industry. I mean, pubs don't normally have bodyguards as such. They have door supervisors to regulate people coming in and out and etc. So perhaps we could clarify exactly what Mr. Yetter's role in the industry has been. I know it's one of the questions I think the police have asked, and I'm confused as to what his role in the industry has been and what he would be doing in the premises if it gets a license.
Thank you. Probably easier if Mr. Yetter is listening patiently. Waving.
Indicating.
I'm going to let him, with your answer the question directly. More sense.
Yes, of course. Mr. Yetter.
Hello, everyone. From age, I'm 41 now. Going to be 42 next year. From age of 19, I've been in the security industry, so I was not a bodyguard all the time. In the last 10 years, around last 10 years, I've been in bodyguarding. I've been working in pubs, clubs, wine bars, as security head doorman. I had my own security firm. So then I started looking after people one-to-one. I worked from 2013 as a manager when it was Madigan's. Didn't have any problems at all in that venue. I was brought up since 1988, 89 in 37 London Fields. My parents still live in the same house. So I know that the area, the people around very well. I work for clubs like Haven, London Astoria, Revolut, Manor Club. I was a head doorman 3 years, didn't have any problems there. I worked all over London. So I know when people to be kicked out, who to be let in, who not to be let in. I'll be organising my own security myself. In-house. Well, it won't be any anyone coming from outside. I'll organise my own security. If I believe they don't fit, they'll be replaced straight away. So however the committee, the residents want it, it will be done that way. I could assure you that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
We will come back to you. There'll be more opportunities to expand. Any other clarifications, Councillor Sizer, Councillor Patrick, before we move on?
No, that's fine for me. Thank you.
Okay. I have some clarifications, which again, we can maybe if you can expand when we come to the full conversation, but the outside space, the closure at 9 o'clock,
Yeah.
what mitigations you have in place to make sure that there aren't issues with sound, with management of people outside, things like capacity. If you could expand on those things.
Okay, I'll tell you some, and then Mr. Yetter can, because I suspect this has been evolving and he's thought of more things. First, any noise, well, music is background only, and it's recorded music. There's no live music. Secondly, it's once 9 o'clock watershed comes, the door will physically be shut, so people won't be allowed out there at all. As far as one can do so. And I know that's an area where there are third-party residents who overlook and live around there. So the door's closed at 9 o'clock, and part of Mr. Yetter's security team will ensure that the door remains locked so that people don't, humans being humans, try and get out. That's broadly how we intend to control it. Mr. Yetter may have some extra detail he wants to give us, but if you don't, Mr. Yetter, you don't have to speak. But I don't know.
No, that's fine. What I did want to ask you, and if you haven't thought about it, then was the capacity of outside, how outside will work. So, for example, will everybody, let's say there are 100 people in the pub.
Yes.
Could there be 100 people outside? What are you looking at?
Okay, Mr. Yetter answer. Mr. Yetter, can you explain, please?
I mean, I've managed that place before, so you won't get more than 10 people outside at one time, because most people, they go, there'll be smoking area on both sides of the cordoned off. People smoke outside, and if there's 100 people maximum, you're gonna have 20 people there. I mean, a lot of people don't really go to the back, and 10 to 9, we'll be asking people to leave and lock the doors. It's lockable doors. Once we lock it, no one could open it.
Okay. Because understandably, the residents have a lot of concerns based on the previous premises, Heart of Hackney and Madigan. So
I mean,
we will come back to that.
I think, can I just check? But I think as part of that, and again, we can deal with this if necessary. I think the new CCTV system will be covering, the garden area. So, in effect, policing ourselves, there'll be a record of what goes on there. So partly there's a CCTV to ensure we know what's going on there. But secondly, when the door is shut, I think Mr. Yetter can confirm this, we'll have a record. So if there's any suggestion of, I know the problem with the previous application was where's the evidence, or can people be believed? But we'll be covering this by, if we're allowed, of course, we'll be covering this by having CCTV in place. So there'll always be and you can have a requirement. I know some authorities, for example, have required my clients in other applications to keep a record for, say, 30 days or whatever the period is, because there's obviously GPDO issues, the data protection issues. So, but for a reasonable time, we could keep the record. Then they would probably scrub them, because we don't want months and months and months of live pictures of faces and so on and so forth.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to move on to the other persons, and I will call you in the order that I have you. So I have C4, C5, C9, C12, and C13. And C4, are you okay to do 3 minutes? Up to 3 minutes?
Hi,
Suba.
yes. Can you guys?
Just really quick, then, to Suba before I come back to you. Yes, Suba?
Sorry, Chair, it has to be responsible authorities next.
Oh,
And then
sorry.
it's only
Apologies. I'll come back to you, C4. Responsible authorities next. Been a long evening.
Which order would you like to hear from, Chair?
Would you like to go first? And if you could introduce yourself, please, and then we'll come to. I have you all on my screen, Amanda. Yeah.
Yes, Chair.
Okay. So let's start with Amanda. Actually, Amanda, if you could just start and introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Hello, Chair. Thank you. My name's Amanda. I'm a police officer for the licensing unit at both the Stoke Newington Police Station. We submitted representations, obviously, based on the application that was submitted, on the hours that were submitted on that. Part of our objections would still apply. Part of our objections were based on the hours and asking them to come back to core hours, which the applicant has already said they will do. In addition to that, she says there must be a bit of paper. Yeah, just to say they've said the previous licence for this venue was revoked by subcommittee following an expedited review by police, which was instigated from an incident in the venue whereby a male was stabbed in the arm. The incident took place in the venue. Police were not notified, and it only came to our attention when the victim presented at hospital. If it's the same staff and the same management system and there's still people in place there that were there then the police have still got no faith at all in the management, and that was the basis for our review back in June, July last year. So it has only been just over a year since the review took place. Back at the beginning of this year, police licensing officers did have a meeting with Mr. Yetter, and he said that he was leasing the venue from the premises licence holder that was in place at the time of the incident and the revocation. Accompanying him was another gentleman called Mr. Aksu, who was the manager at the time of the incident, and we were told then that he would have an involvement in helping to run the place. Again, we can only go on what information we were told. As far as we're concerned, we've still got somebody that was involved with the incident at the time when the licence was revoked, still being involved with the running of this premises. We submitted our representations back in June and have not heard until today, obviously from the applicant or any agent from him, about any negotiations regarding changing hours, conditions, any answers to the questions about Mr. Yetter's experience and stuff. All that we've now heard a bit more about this evening. Couple of bits that I did want to say as well. Just as well, Mr. Yetter has obviously got experience in working in security within bars, pubs and clubs, but actually running a licensed venue from a manager side of things, I think is slightly different. And would benefit from himself having a personal licence holder's course if he hasn't already, and getting the information from the Licensing Act. Just because you know how to run a door doesn't mean you know how to run a licensed premises necessarily. Again, details about the security system, CCTV systems and stuff like this would be welcome, but we have not had any of that so far. We would also request, with the going back to core hours, that the non-standard timings that are on there for bank holidays and New Year's Eve, etc., are also removed from any application. As temporary event notices can be applied for anything special that they want to extend their licence for. I haven't got much more to say at this time, Chair, because our main concerns were based on the hours, which have been pulled back already.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is that- If I could
We'll
say
come back
something,
to no, we have to go through step-by-step process, and we have
sorry,
still
no problem.
licensing, and we still have to let other persons speak before you can speak.
That's no problem.
Amanda.
Yes, Chair, just through the chair, I don't know if you want to check with the police officer about whether or not there are any additional conditions about CCTV, etc., given that she hasn't had that opportunity prior to today to say anything, in case you're minded to grant.
Yeah. If you wouldn't mind, Amanda, to respond to that, and also, is it a preference from the police that is the pulling back to core hours a minimum, or is it that you don't wish to see the premises open until all of these things are addressed?
Ideally, we'd like to see all these bits addressed first, and have details about CCTV and how it's going to run, and some policies on dispersal and things like that going forward. Core hours certainly is a huge step forward from what they were asking for to start with. With regards to CCTV, I think we've got a condition we normally use, is that it covers all the public areas of the bar, and it's kept for a minimum of 31 days that we can view on request. I can send over I think Amanda should have a general idea of what we normally ask for with CCTV, and that again would be what we'd ask for this time.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Patrick Sizer, nothing? Okay. David, sorry, you are next. If you could introduce yourself as well.
Thank you very much, Chair. My name is David Tier. I'm Team Lead of Licensing and Technical Support. I made a representation on behalf of the Licensing Authority, which is in today's agenda at B2. Similar to PC Griggs, sorry, not B2, it's at B3. It's at B3 within today's agenda. So similar to Pixie Griggs, some of the concerns that I raised in that representation have been withdrawn. So we've heard, or we were hearing that the hours have been revised to align with the core hours LP3, which is contained within policy. It's a suggestion that the rear garden is to be closed at 9 p.m. each day. I think Mr. Lee was just talking about security before he had to end his initial submission, and recorded music also. The suggestion of this is a question which I'm sure we'll get to in the discussion phase, but it's been suggested that the music will be background only. Therefore, is it suggested then that recorded music will be removed as a proposed activity, licensable activity that's being sought? So I think obviously we'll need to hear from the other persons, the local residents who live nearby. But I did hear some things that allayed concerns, but there is still a lot of detail that needs to be thrashed out.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Patrick and Councillor Sizer? Yeah.
Can I just seek clarification on what David's just said? That bottom line, do you feel enough concerns have been dealt with?
I think they're on their way to being dealt with, but obviously there are still a number of local residents that we've not heard from at all. So I think it is important that we hear from them first.
Okay.
Thank you.
Free Chair.
Councillor Patrick?
Yeah, I don't know whether David would know offhand when the pub traded as Madigan's. I mean, I know it keeps changing names. I don't know when it changed from Madigan's to the Heart of Hackney, and whether there was complaints when it was Madigan's.
Yeah, I couldn't say with any real accuracy.
Sorry,
Councillor. Madigan's was some time ago from what I recall.
I have one clarification. I'm just looking for LP6. You talk about the rear garden and how it's outside of that. I'm just looking for wording.
Yeah, so in Mr. Lee's submission, he mentioned 9 p.m. So I think I'm sure we'll get to that in the discussion phase. But
External areas. Yeah, if you can come back to that particular clause, the external areas one, just for the benefit of other persons. It's just a bit in the licensing policy which talks about principles around external areas, gardens, and so on. All right, thank you. Finally, apologies again. So I'm going to call on other persons now. So I don't know if C4, if you are still here.
Hello. Yes, I'm still here.
Oh, great.
Nice.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay.
Thank you very much for letting me speak here. My application was almost exclusively about the licensing hours. But having heard that it's the same people who owned the bar before, my reason for not rejection, but reason for the issue has changed as well, because I cannot believe that it's the same people applying for a license again. And the fact that a person who is effectively the head of a security company is the face of the group of people who are applying for it shows you just how much an issue security has been in this venue its entire life. The people who go there won't change, and I can't believe therefore that the levels of crime will change. I was looking at other people's representations just now. Madigan's did have issues. In the Hackney Gazette 2014, a man was stabbed, according to an article there. I think in 2013, the license underwent review because 4 residents associations applied for the council to slash the hours. So it's not like it's not a strong level of previous running, and the fact that they're trying to use the fact that they ran it before as a good thing, I think I can't actually think it's a bad thing. So I'm surprised that that's a reason to grant the license. I think that fact that the hours are going to court is a good thing, but I think the rear garden at 9 p.m. is still a bit of an issue for the people who are around it. It leads to so much noise, way beyond 10 people or 20 people late into the night, and I don't think that security cameras will change that. Security cameras don't stop people doing something at a time. They're not a deterrent at all. And also the fact that the music is called background music, I think that's just a lawyer's way of saying it's not live music. When I was younger, I've danced in that pub before. It's loud enough to have a good time to. It's not music that is quiet, and it's not music it's not music that doesn't go through the doors at the back. When we lived here before, when the pub was open, you can hear that music very loudly and very clearly. It's maybe single layer glass, there's one layer of it. It's not a adequate way to keep the noise out. So I have to keep this short and sweet, but for me, yeah, the fact that this is the same people applying is madness. I can't believe it. And as I say, the fact that it's the head of security is indicative of the fact that this place is known for crime. And just because the pub reopens, if it's under the same name with the same owners, I can't believe that it'll be a new set of clientele. And I can't believe that any of the issues that we faced before will be resolved. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, half a minute to spare. Thank you very much. Councillor Patrick, Sizer, let's go through everybody and then we can maybe, yeah? So the next person will be C5. C5 is still here. Amanda or Suba, can you just check that they are?
I think it should be C4. Oh, sorry, C4 is done. C6, Chair.
Oh, C6. C6.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
Thank you, Chair. I'll keep it short and, I'll add to what C4 just said. My property backs on the garden, effectively what they used to call the beer garden. And just to give you some facts around the setup, it's surrounded by buildings which are 4 or 5 story high, and they are in the north, they are in the west, and they are in the south. So it's actually a box. All the gardens are more or less, in the same box. And the largest garden of all of them is effectively the pub's garden. I believe that you can probably, or there was at a point in time, something like at least 10 tables where you could put 5 people on each. So it would hold easily more than 50 people, that garden. And the fact that it's surrounded by very high buildings, you basically have an echo chamber. And 9 o'clock is disappointing. It's terrifying. Basically, you have loud people, music going on, smoking going on. This prevents anyone in that, in those buildings to enjoy their gardens, to effectively come out and have an evening in their gardens. Closing the doors at 9 o'clock is definitely not a solution for families. I've got now a young daughter. She's 5. I can't talk to her, in the garden. I can't talk to my wife in the garden. Effectively, it was that kind of sound level, going on there. And yes, at 9 o'clock they used to close the doors, but like C4 said, you could still hear it. It was better, but you could still hear it. I'm just fearing that effectively having a daughter and her bedroom is at the back, having my daughter effectively try to put her to bed with that kind of loud music and loud people, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, also a little bit under. Thank you both. That takes Councillor Patrick and Sizer, okay, can we go continue? Okay. C9. C9.
C9 is next.
Yeah, C9.
Confused by trying to find my number earlier.
Oh, sorry.
No, I got straightened out. It's not your fault.
Okay.
First thing I'd like to suggest, based upon other comments and Mr. Lee's representation about the applicant willing to revert to core hours, I'd like to suggest the application be asked to be resubmitted with the hours that they actually want to operate under. And I'd like to see it resubmitted with the evidence of that Amanda Griggs and David Pruitt are asking about in terms of security, CCTV. It seems the application is lacking in specific evidence. I'd be willing to take Mr. Yetter's good intentions on face value, but the application should itself be much more substantial, much more backed up than it is. And I think I'd hate to see this application go through with the hours as stated, but the understanding that they're going to be core hours when the application then gets filed with the wrong hours in it. So that's my first thought. The other thought, my particular concern also is about the garden. I think 9 o'clock is a bit late. It should be shut earlier, 8 p.m., 7 p.m. And my personal experience is from overlooking that garden that there's frequently a lot more than 10 people been in that garden. And as previously stated, that garden with the buildings around it is a huge echo chamber, and there's no such thing as quiet in that garden if there's more than 2 or 3 people out there. That'd be. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I just ask as a clarification to the three of you? In your submission, C4, you mentioned or suggested 7 p.m. for outside. And then I just wondered, maybe when we come back to the discussion point, actually, that's the point about the number of people outside. In your experience, though, the three of you, is outside, is the back door, is it soundproof? So is there noise leakage from when the doors are shut at 9 p.m.?
In my personal experience, I don't think it's the best soundproofing in the world. I mean, noise does come out of the back of the bar through those doors a bit.
Okay.
And yeah, I guess on the nature of the sound, I guess the problem is that it's so sweary. The language is terrible. Way worse than any other pub, sadly, for the people applying for this license. So it's not just noise; it's like swearing. It's loud. It's aggressive. It's slightly different to most pub gardens.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to it, yes, it's so loud. Even if it's only a few people, you can hear exactly what they say, and what C4 is saying. You can hear the whole discussion. The only way you can't be outside, basically, peacefully and enjoying your property, with that kind of echo going on. That's it.
Thank you. All right, I'll move on to C12, please.
That's me. Thank you. Thank you to all my neighbors. I mean, it is a bit of a surprise for Mr. Lee to turn up on the night and all of a sudden, not having seen all of our protestations, he's exactly responding to them. And I would echo the request that the application be resubmitted with what exactly they want to do. There's been a pub there. I was looking it up on Wiki Pubs, whatever. There's been a pub there since 1593, and there's been a pub certainly in our modern times for a long time. But what's changed is the community around the pub, and the council made the choice to turn our block, which was a factory, into housing, and our particular block, which overlooks directly the garden, into social housing. And certainly since then, when the Carhartt factory burned down in the riots, that's been replaced with even more housing in the last 10 years. So the council is absolutely prioritizing housing for families in this area. And that's the concern with this application for this type of premise. In terms of the past experience, we've been here since 2005, and we were original owners in our shared ownership flat. And we had the council noise police in here at least 2 occasions in my children's bedroom at 2 a.m., measuring the sound that you could hear coming from the pub through the wall, the back door of the pub. So, it wasn't Madigan's, it was something else before it was Heart of Hackney. But certainly this has been a long history of sound bleed into a bedroom where children are sleeping. And it also, the last point was about the type of venue. A venue with security on the door and bag checks and toilet checks and all those things that are mentioned in the application, all those mitigations. It doesn't sound like a neighborhood pub. That to me sounds like a nightclub. And I think C4 addressed this earlier about who are the clientele for this, because pub in the park doesn't have that level of security and bag checks going in. That's a neighborhood pub around the corner. The Ship up the street doesn't have that kind of input. So it's what are they going for here? It's not a neighborhood pub. A neighborhood pub right next door would be brilliant. And this is not that club, that kind of vibe, not that kind of clientele. And that's a concern. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And then finally, C13, please. Are they still here? C13 still here. Super, can you just check? Oh, yep, they are.
Super, can you check if C13 is there?
Yes, they are there. I can see them.
Okay.
But
Maybe they're on mute. Do you think they can't hear?
No, they're muted. Rabia, are you able to make contact, please?
I'm going to make contact through the chat.
Oh, no, they're back. That's fine. Hello? Rabia, they are present, but I just don't know that. Were they informed of the? Oh, okay. Mic is not working. Apologies. Would you like to dial out and dial back in to see if that works?
Maybe they can telephone in.
She's
They
dialed
can
back.
phone in rather than.
I think he's just trying to dial back in.
Okay, Anya. Yes, Councillor Sizer.
While we're doing that, can I just clarify, probably with Amanda, about the request for the resubmission, given the change in what's being proposed? Is that something that we should be taking on board, or can you advise me?
Unfortunately, you have to make a decision on the application on the representations that you hear tonight. The applicant is responsible for ensuring that they liaise with all the responsible authorities to ensure their application was in order, conditions were submitted, and everything was done in advance of today. So we can't adjourn or do anything of that nature. We have to make a decision, either it's a grant or a refusal. That's based on what you hear today, not on giving them more time, because they had the time prior to today, and they should have made contact with the relevant responsible authorities. So unfortunately, you're limited in what you can do based on the information you're given.
Subject to what I might say in due course, is it not possible for us to volunteer to ask for the application to be put back and then come back? I don't know. I've got submissions to make, but is it not possible? I don't think I've done this elsewhere, where an application, instead of being refused or granted, but if to save refusing it, an applicant can go away having listened to whatever's been said, to come back and try and pick everything up in a more comprehensive manner. But that's also an option, isn't it? I know you as Amanda, forgive me, but your solicitor, Amanda.
Yes.
I think right.
I think unfortunately we're limited at the moment in what we can do. So I mean, it's your choice if you decide to withdraw your application. That will be obviously a waste of everyone's time tonight, but
yeah.
Otherwise they're limited to the two decisions, grant or refusal, because your client needed to have dealt with everything prior to today.
Okay, it sounds like you'll be obliged to make submissions to grant, and you'll either grant, or if you refuse, you'll refute and give reasons, and then we'll resubmit it. I was thinking that we could ask put back on another occasion. That deals, I think, some of the residents' points, and I'm not yielding on the point, but I can see that it may be that more information's needed. And I was trying to be helpful to see whether we could hear everybody for the moment, but rather than them proceeding to a decision, subject to me getting some instructions, I wonder whether we could put it back to save you making a decision, and otherwise, effectively, you've got to make a decision, which I'm happy to address you on, or we and if you refuse, we may have to make a fresh application. But it seems sensible to just improve this one. Frankly, I don't know. There may be some modest fee.
Can I make a suggestion? We still have Amanda. Sorry, just really quickly. We've still got C13 to speak, who's dialed back in. I don't know whether they wish to speak still, but it's up to you if you want to withdraw your application. We can't do a holdover. It's, as you say, accept or reject tonight. And
I can't do a holdover. I've either got to completely withdraw it, or I've got to. I thought I had power. You had power to allow me to ask you to adjourn considering it to another occasion.
Chair, it's at your discretion whether or not you want to give them the opportunity to withdraw and resubmit, or alternatively, you make your decision. Based
I
on
would like to. If I could, sorry, I would like to first of all, before we do any of that, I really want to give C13 an opportunity to speak while we listen to them, but also think about that. And perhaps if you can have a chat while we're doing that, Amanda and Kevin.
Hi, can you hear me?
I'm going to hear from the resident first, but you're welcome to stay, or we can, let's just hear from the residents who have waited here. It's 9:20 and they've waited. I think they should be heard. Let's do that first. So C13, if you are able to, you have been able to dial in.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I had mic problems on my computer, but anyway, I'm going to be short and sweet. I think this application is it just wouldn't work, as I've mentioned in my comments before, and my neighbours have mentioned as well. The main problem here we have is the garden, that most of our bedrooms and our own gardens back onto. I was present at the original meeting when it was proposed for Heart of Hackney at the council offices, and we agreed for 9 o'clock, and I thought it was suitable at the time. But in my experience, I've had to call environmental health several times because of the noise, because although they promised to close at 9, it never happened. Their attempt to get the customers out of the garden around 9, after 9, it's cleared maybe by 10, and when they close the doors, which I don't think is double glazed or soundproofed, we still hear the noise from inside, and the music then turns up. So I think the Amanda that mentioned the fact that, you know, we have a head of security running a pub or managing a pub, it's 2 different roles. And I've worked in many venues as well. It's 2 completely different things. So, you know, I believe that this application will have to be resubmitted with all the right information and with a stronger argument that they deserve to open again after all the problems we've had in the past. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Amanda. Thank you very much, C13.
Chair, it is at your discretion whether or not you want to adjourn the matter to give the applicants the opportunity to resolve the issues. But technically speaking, they've had the actual time limit in which to resolve matters, because we're at the point now that we need to determine the application. You know, there isn't like lots of time pending that we've got lots of space and room to do that, but it is completely at your discretion if you decide to adjourn or if they decide to withdraw and resubmit.
Okay. So can I ask Mr. Lee?
I mean,
oh
sorry.
yes, there you are. Sorry.
Can I say something?
Briefly, yes.
I mean, firstly, Mr. Axel's not going to be involved. Secondly, if the residents wants us to close it at 8 o'clock, I'm willing to close it at 8 o'clock.
Can I just stop you?
Of
yeah,
course.
no, that's fine. We haven't got to that point where we're discussing the detail. If you want to discuss the detail, that means that we are making a decision.
Yeah.
I'm asking first of all if you want to withdraw your application. I don't
Not
feel
ne-
like.
No,
Mr. Yetta, if I could just please speak to your counsel.
Yeah, Mr. Yetta, leave it to me, please. I've been thinking about this, and I've been listening to your solicitor repeatedly make the point. Quite frankly, the application is before you. it's perfectly normal, certainly in my experience, that things happen on evenings and things listen. One would like to think that as humans, we actually listen and respond, as opposed to being dealt with in some straitjacketed Dickensian manner. The point I would make is I certainly will proceed with the application so we get a decision. And of course, there's always then the ability to appeal that. The other point is this, whether you want me to say this now or later, but we must be judged on the application that's before you, as opposed to what went on 20 or even 10 years ago. I know the police officer, unfortunately, sometimes happens, read out what was already there. I didn't go back into it. Things have happened in the past. That's why I said at the very beginning, my client did not appeal or challenge in any manner the decision to take the license away. They could have done, and they didn't. They went away, as I put it, to regroup. And you have heard that there are fresh people, both the Mr. Kaya is a new person, and Mr. Yetta is a new person. Those are the people that need to be judged. They'll be the people who'll be responsible for the license. If there's anything that goes wrong, they're the people who will be responsible with the full consequences that comes therefrom. I leave aside details of quite how we operate things, but our position is that we want this application to be considered on its merits and Mr. Yetta to be decided on his merits. And of course, the context, and this is something that's important because I understand the residents, and the lady that spoke, C12, made the very valid point that as we know, local authorities have been encouraging the use of town centres more, especially post-pandemic, with housing and some commercial uses. And the fact of the matter is that, as I think she noted, a neighbourhood pub would be brilliant. So far as my client is concerned, that's exactly what they want. They want a brilliant neighbourhood pub. They don't want a pub that may have a terrible history, always being judged by a terrible history. If there are people that are unacceptable, then the whole point of having someone with the huge amount of experience of Mr. Yetta being there is to make sure they don't come in. I mean, if there is a bad...
Mr. Lee, okay, no, so I've understood the point that you have made, that you do want to go ahead.
Yes, please.
Right, okay.
I thought I'd pick up on some of these...
I'm going to go to the members of the subcommittee because it's for them to draw out comments from each of everybody that has spoken so far. I've had somebody indicate, which is C12 and Councillor Sizer. C12, would you like to go first? And then we'll come back to the committee asking questions.
I just wanted, because my name just got taken there in vain.
Yeah.
That is not going to be a neighborhood pub, what they have described. And I would point out that in terms of licensing, on our block, we have the restaurant that was TAD at 49 Haycon Square, that's now Sulu. When that was first going in, because that was not finished when we were already residents here in 2005, very nervous about what was going to go in there. Anything could have gone in there, would have disturbed us. And what the controls that have been on that space have been a space where the restaurants that have been there now, 2 different licensees, at 10:30, they're very good neighbors, they stick to the rules, and it's done and dark and quiet by 10:30. That's being a good neighbor. I have very strong feelings that this is not what's going to go on with this pub and the garden. So I don't have the sense that what Mr. Yetta and Mr. Lee are talking about is a neighborhood pub, in the sense that I was talking about a good neighbor pub. And thank you. Just want to say. And I would just, yeah, thank you.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Just going to add that, I mean, the concern about putting in, especially if they were the same people who were involved with the pub before, very concerned that they put in an application asking for the absolute maximum hours that they could have. This 3 a.m. on Saturday and on Friday and Saturday and Christmas and New Year's. That's never what was there before. And so I just feel like now they're coming back and going, no, we'll have core hours. They could have put that in at the beginning. And it just feels, it makes the rest of us feel very insecure about anything that they are putting in without putting in a new application, because it just feels like they're saying that to be frank, it feels like they put an application trying to get in as much as they could and hope that no one would notice. And that's frankly how we feel after living here for 17 years and being through this again and again. So that's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sizer.
I think I want to pick up on that sentiment, actually. That a lot of what I'm hearing tonight feels quite reactive. So, you know, we've put in quite big hours, now we're thinking of taking them back. What I want to hear is proactively, how are you going to reassure residents going forward? What are you going to practically do? You know, give me 4 or 5 solutions for how you will ensure that this is much more of a family pub than a nightclub. I want to hear some solutions.
Yeah. And can I just also, in that, Mr. Yetter and Mr. Lee, in responding to that, please, it would be helpful to reflect on the outside space as well as the inside space.
Right. Well, I go back to the point. You have to judge this application as a fresh application. If we're forever tarring people with the same brush, we get nowhere. Everybody has to make the first step. The other thing is that you have very powerful controls in the form of the conditions that you put on a license, as generally you do in enforcing a license, and your officer, again, I only see a first name, but David, knows powers he has as a licensing officer. So my suggestion is to look at it this way. I'm suggested that I'm reacting. Well, lawyers react when they hear things. It's the nature of the task we have to do. But in terms of being proactive, it is proactive to the extent what we say is I will be inviting you to grant the license on the terms, on the core hours, dealing with some of the detail I've addressed so far and come back to. And the point is this, that you have the control to keep saying, well, we don't know if it's going to be a family pub. We'd love a family pub, but it might not be a good family pub. You take that first step by granting the license. If it turns out that my clients, despite the instructions I've had in terms of organising this, Mr. Yetter is frankly useless. If the responsible person is useless, then very quickly we will find ourselves at the mercy of your committee, either temporarily suspending or taking away our license.
Okay,
and then
so
we'll
could I step in?
Yes.
The question, I think, was put in good faith, but I don't know if it's been misunderstood. The question is, in just management terms, how will the pub be managed? If we are going back to core hours, how will the pub be managed as a whole? But there are specific concerns about the impact of the outside space on neighbouring properties. So how will that be managed on a day-to-day basis? So things like one person at C6 mentioned that in the past they had seen 10 tables with 5 people each. So how will you mitigate those? How would Mr. Yetter and his staff mitigate those concerns?
Well,
we know, so we are taking it on face value, but it has changed a lot in since we started the meeting. So it's trying to get our heads around that.
Well, which is why I was exploring whether we could put it back, but there's a reluctance to deal with it that way. So
but
we're
it's
here.
up to you if you wish to withdraw.
I'm not withdrawing. I was actually inviting you to adjourn it. It's different. Your solicitor didn't address that point, and it seems deliberately. I said that you could adjourn this off to another day. That's what I suggested, but there has to be something you do. I can invite you to adjourn it, and I wouldn't resist that. But I'm not going to withdraw it, which is what your solicitor focused on. I'm afraid I can't withdraw it. I have to ask you to make a decision, or you can, if you want to, suggest that this be put back to another day, and I wouldn't resist that. But I'm not going to withdraw.
Amanda.
Chair, I did make it clear subsequently, I don't know if Mr. Lee heard me, but I did actually say that it's at your discretion whether or not you decide to adjourn, or whether or not you feel you have enough to make a decision. It's your choice. You know, that there's no pressure either way as to whether what you want to do. The reason why we mentioned withdraw is because he could then resubmit the updated application with the information that that is missing basically tonight. So that was why that was a suggestion of withdraw, but that is his choice. I note, as I say, it's a matter for you, Chair, whether or not you decide to adjourn or whether or not you're happy to proceed and make a decision. It's also a matter as whether or not you feel that on the next occasion, would the applicants have made the progress they need to, and how long will you be adjourning for to resolve all these issues? So, you know, these are other points as well, because clearly tonight, although Mr. Lee is here, except he has to make representation on behalf of his client has not ensured that they agreed conditions with, for example, the police, etc. And there was no communication with them prior to today. And there wasn't sufficient communication with the responsible authorities. That's not the licensing subcommittee's fault. They were told the date of this hearing and when to be ready, and they have come before us today, possibly with incomplete information. And I'm not saying that's Mr. Lee's fault. I'm just explaining that the applicant themselves are responsible. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Mr. Lee, no, Mr. Lee, no, we're not getting into back and forth here. I want to just clarify this because I'm going to ask Amanda if we can adjourn, but I would like to take C4 first.
Hi, yeah, I was just going to some extent, repeat the points that Amanda was making. This whole thing feels like it has been an attempt to just circumvent the truth. Even the small point that the application is printed very high up on the pub window, so it was only one of us who saw it at one point looking at it. That it's it's got that level of attempts to just sneak things in and around. And I partly feel like adjourning this thing or moving it back, it would just be also another attempt to have less of us come here and less people power, which is what this feels like. Affect the decision. So I almost feel like it'd be unfair on us to give them the chance, given they didn't turn up with the right timings, they didn't turn up with the right type of application. That's on them. It feels like to make this thing happen again would be unfair on all of us who turned up today and gave fair representation. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Amanda, I would like the subcommittee and Suba and Rabia to take a 5-minute adjournment to the pre-meeting link, please. So apologies for everybody. If you wouldn't mind staying here, I promise we will be back within 5 minutes. Is that fine? Can we suspend the live stream in the meantime?
Mario?
Chair, we can have it live stream if we just go off to have
I would prefer to just consult the subcommittee members, please.
Okay, if we go to the pre-meeting, we can meet there.
Yes, the pre-meeting link. So apologies to everybody else. We will be back at 9:40. Okay, thank you.
We dial back in again or sit
You
here?
can stay, no, you stay here. We're going to dial into a different thing.
You can become non-visual and mute. Thank you.
Thank you. We shall be back. Hello, everybody. Apologies for that. Thank you for your patience.
Hello.
Hi. Just wanted to let you know that we have decided to just.
Is Mr. Lee here? Is Mr. Lee here?
Oh,
where's Mr. Lee? Mr. Lee here? You want to call him out?
He's gone.
He's not gone, is he?
Mr. Yatta, we have lost Mr. Lee.
Yes. I don't know where Mr. Lee is.
Can you call him, or can you get your solicitor to contact him? He needs to be
Yeah,
here.
let's contact him. Just give me 1 minute, please. But on my other phone. Okay. Thank you very much.
No worries.
I mean, the residents talking about the 2013 stabbing. I was not in the venue. By then, I
Mr.
left.
Yatta, we are just, Mr. Yatta, please.
Yeah.
We are just trying to continue with this
I understand.
application. I'm not going to
Speak at
get,
all.
no, please do not speak unless I call on you. I just want to repeat to you and to everybody else, the decision being made is based on the information that is presented in the bundle, which is publicly available. It makes reference to different things. You will have an opportunity to speak once we get your counsel and your legal representation back, if they're coming back.
Okay, ma'am.
Those questions will be put by members of the subcommittee. We're not going to have it to do.
No problem at all, ma'am. I do apologize.
Have you located him?
I'm calling my solicitor now. I'm
Okay.
messaging me.
So for the benefit of the residents that are here, we have decided that we will proceed. We're not keen to ignore people by an adjournment of tonight.
Sorry, he's trying to reconnect. He's having problems connecting.
Okay.
Mr. Lee. Okay.
Hello, yes.
Yes. He's joined, I think. If I'm
Welcome back. Hello.
Sorry about that. I had to try to take some instructions, and the machine wouldn't let me do two things at once.
Oh,
so I broke the call. I apologise.
We're all back now, I think. Thank you. And
Yeah.
we have decided to proceed and make a decision tonight, which I said just before you came back, Mr. Lee and Pravin.
Yes.
So,
the only thing I haven't done, I'm being frank about this, and I'm conscious of time. I wanted to have a discussion with Mr. Yetta about something to determine whether, frankly, watching the way the wind's blowing at the moment, whether we withdraw if you're not going to adjourn or press on. I can do both. I've been instructed
do
to
you
make
want
that.
to have, why don't you, the two of you, have 5 minutes and decide if you want to withdraw? Would you like to do that?
I don't want to waste time, and sometimes one can smell the roses or not.
No, so so Mr. Lee, if you and Mr. Yetta would like to have
I would.
5 minutes to have a conversation, then that's fine.
Okay, I'm going to ring him. You realise he's abroad and I'm somewhere else in England.
Yes, of course, that's fine.
All right, we'll dial back in when we finish. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to briefly turn my camera off, but we'll be back at 21:50.
Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Yetta and
Sorry, I'm back.
Hi.
Mr. Lee's gonna rejoin.
Okay,
Thank you for your patience.
no problem. You're muted, Mr. Lee.
Sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair. You appreciate it. Ordinarily, we'd be in a room and I could take some instructions, but thank you for the. Cutting to the chase. But I want to say this: we're going to withdraw the application. I know you haven't yet made up your mind, but we're not silly. We can see the concerns that, quite rightly, the committee must have, given the points that are being made. I do hear a lot about a leopard can't change its spots. Sometimes in the real world, one can change premises, but we realise we need to do a lot more work than what we've done. And so we're going to withdraw, but we're going to go away and we're going to deal with the things I've taken a very careful note of what the residents have been saying. And it is our serious intention to come back again and pick up all of these points. And I'll be giving some advice to the client, Mr. Yetta, to bring this. He'll say you understand it. His business is going to be running it, but we need to figure out how to present it properly, because I'm not sure he is properly presented it so far, which isn't a criticism of him. He pays people to do a job, and maybe we in a position where he's been let down. So to save time, and I'm bearing in mind you've been sitting very late, it's already 10 o'clock. So I wanted to say that because I want people to listen so they know what's coming on. We're not pulling the wool over anybody's eyes. We're not trying to get our foot in the door. You're not to. We are aware and make sure we can try and pick up all these points, come back with a management plan and a structure, and then put in something so that Mr. Truitt can consider our submissions, and Amanda, whatever her surname was, the police officer, can consider what we're saying. But I wanted to say that so that people realise what we're doing, and we are going to withdraw because that's the reasonable thing to do. And I want you to understand that. So thank you for at least letting us have a trial run. It's been very useful. I will be, rest assured, giving full advice both to Mr. Yetta, my instructing solicitor, and then we'll, I don't know when, but we'll come back and make a fresh application. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to say...
May I say something, if it's possible, please?
Yes, I
don't
will.
mind.
Of course, I will come back to you. I just wanted to say to Mr. Lee that Amanda's surname was Amanda Briggs.
Oh,
So
thank you.
When you do come back, please can you make sure that you obviously speak to her as well. And I'm sure the committee services team here at Hackney will keep those residents who have submitted evidence and sat very patiently through tonight, keep them updated with when you come back.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Amanda. Yeah,
Mr.
well,
Yetta?
probably my instructing solicitor that does all the paperwork, but the pleasure of being the barrister is to tell people what to do and let someone else do it. And then I have to argue.
Yeah, okay. Great, thank you. So Mr. Yetta, and then we'll come back to C12.
I just want to thank everyone for being patient with us. I mean, I'm not here to waste people's time or be bad with the neighbours or have problems with the police or the local authority. I want to make this business work. So that's one of the reasons we're pulling back. We want to make everything perfect before we open. That's all I want to say. Okay, I want everyone to be happy with us as well, and we want to be happy with our neighbours.
Thank you, Mr. Yetta. C12?
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, you kind of just said it as I was about to raise my hand, but can we just have assurances that we will be informed when the new application goes in? Because one of the things I discovered, I was a bit shocked when we accidentally discovered that this application was in, because happened to walk by the pub, happened to see this blue piece of paper quite high up in the window. And I contacted the council licensing department and realized that I was told that they no longer have to inform neighbors when an application goes in. And from having lived here for 17 years and been through these pub applications before, I know in the past we always got letters through the door when an application went in. And apparently that is no longer the practice of the council. So can we just get reassurance from Mr. Tewitt's team or whatever that we will be informed when the new application goes in?
Okay, so Suba will respond to that. Mr. Tewitt's in a slightly different team, but yes.
Sorry, Chair. I'd like to confirm the letters will be posted as part of the planning application. It's not under the Licensing Act. The Licensing Act requires a site notice to be placed outside the premises for 20 days and newspaper advert, and the application will be listed on our website. So we don't have to contact the resident. So that's a procedure for the Licensing Act.
So can I, before I come to you, Amanda, can I just suggest in this case, given that we've had lots of people who did come to speak, that as the application is received, that we just drop them an email and say that an application has been received so we can follow up. I think that would be fair. Of the people that have submitted today and were listed. Amanda?
Yes, Chair. Or we just say that the onus is actually on the applicant to ensure that the blue notice is properly advertised. So putting it high up so they can't read it isn't actually helpful. They're supposed to put it in a number of places where it's easy for members of the public to actually be able to read it and understand it. And if they want to make a representation, they can. So the onus really is on actually the applicant and not the licensing service. The licensing service will do what they're required to do, but really the applicant can make more of an effort.
Okay, well, we heard that, Mr. Yetta heard it. We will make sure that the notices are very visible and people know what's going on. We've got nothing to hide.
It was visible. It was visible. The reason it was put down there, I was going to put it outside so because it rains, so I didn't want it to smudge or it was unreadable.
So
I was putting the right location.
So if this is a learning point for your next application, if you could just make sure that is, what I could promise to do, if I see you raise your hand again, C12, is in our wash up, this subcommittee's wash up after this meeting, we will have a conversation about what we cannot do as a licensing authority. So C12, and then I think we're going to close soon.
Yeah, no, thank you. That was just, I would just thank you very much, Councillor Muhammad, because you're saying exactly what we're saying, is that there may be the practice, but if we could, in this case, because 15 people have made comments, not just the ones who spoke tonight, if there could be some notification, because you have all our names, because you sent us several emails about coming to this hearing, it would be a courtesy to let us know when it's been resubmitted.
Okay. Councillor Patrick, and then I'm going to move on. Yep.
Yeah, it's to the applicant. I don't know whether they're beginning. I don't know if it's delivering generic letters to the flats in the nearby that adjourn the premises, making sure that there's notices up around to let residents know. You know, if they want to, they're saying they want to be good neighbours and they want to make sure that everyone that it's got, you know, it's what licensing authorities used to do. There's nothing to stop the applicant doing the same. I know I used to deliver the letters for another authority, and they're just generic letters. There's nothing to stop the applicant doing that.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think then that brings this to a close, and we look forward to hearing from you, Mr. Lee and Mr. Yetta, on a future application. And if there are no other items of business, can I declare the meeting closed?
Thank you. Bye night.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
everybody who came along today and stayed.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Good night.